But we believe that Proverbs is one of the best books in the Bible to help give us its wisdom literature. And so we believe that wisdom and discernment are two of the most valuable things that we can have when it comes to life. And Proverbs does a great job of answering some of those questions.
Yeah, I love that you called it wisdom literature.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. It is that. The way that it goes about achieving that is to lay out contrasting elements. So I learned through the contrast of this is good and this is bad. Most people do, and I've said it before, I'm a visual learner.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll give these examples that are very tangent and tangible, rather, that you can kind of grab onto and go, ooh, that makes sense. And I believe today's specific one, Proverbs 16:32, better a patient man than a warrior, a man who controls his temper than one who takes a city. I'm going to say that again. Proverbs 16:32. Better a patient man than a warrior, a man who controls his temper than one who takes a city.
Wow.
Those are visual elements.
They are.
I can for sure see a warrior in my mind. We've all seen it. We watch movies. The heroes most frequently are the warriors of some sort, and even the bad guys are often these warriors for evil. So you've got these two contrasting strong archetypes. And then someone who takes a city, I mean, that's this conquering force that you would think was very, very strong, but in this it contrasts it with a single individual controlling himself.
Well, what's interesting is when we think about actually who wrote this. So King Solomon wrote this.
Right.
Who's King Solomon's dad?
David.
King David, one of the greatest warriors of the Bible. In fact, they're in the Bible. Jesus is the most talked about person, and King David is the second most talked about person in the Bible. King David was a warrior. We'll talk a little bit about King David today as an emotional man.
So what do you get from this passage as you have digested it over the week?
So self-control is I think the big piece that I take away from that, because I do like the contrast there is it's you're better off than a warrior. And so often we can see self-control as people is like when people lose self-control, it can cost you a lot. It can cost you business. It can cost you relationships. It can cost you and so many different avenues. And so us having self-control as men is vital, and our ability to be better communicators with people. Because at no point in time have you ever been in a relationship or in a conversation with somebody where it was advantageous to you to lose control, and in the end, you won the argument.
Yeah, this is a very minimal fighting career, but I took a few years of Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. The best Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai people were the ones who had full control over their emotions. Because when something negative happens, you can spaz out, but you have to be able to control your breath. You have to be able to control the movements of your body. And when you would get super frustrated, you'd kind of go into this flux, and you get the parasympathetic kicking in, which is that flight or fight response. And then your heart rate goes beyond where you'd want it to be, which is a controlled heart rate, so that you can then control your breathing. So when you have this moment happen, somebody gets you in a position and it, especially I only ever practiced. I didn't have any serious fights with that. But in practice, you're wrestling with a younger kid who's just too energetic, and they tweak something on you, and immediately you get mad and you want to kind of get back at them. That loss of control in that moment would almost always lead to submission, involuntary submission,
Right.
the opposite of what you want in life. And, you'd end up getting injured more, or you could injure the individual you're rolling with, and then you get in trouble in the class. And you never learn the actual skill set that would get you out of the positioning that got you hurt in the first place.
Well, isn't that what most of martial arts is designed to do, is just help to keep you in control of what you got going on in your life. So I think that there's some advantage of like taking classes like that as well to help you understand like your thought process and your emotional part of what you got going on.
It's high stress. And I think, what does Rogan call it? He said it's mental chess with it's something like that. It's mental chess with dire consequences. And that's how it feels, especially during jiu-jitsu, when you're rolling with somebody. There's infinite amount of opportunities for you to get injured. At the same time, there's always a way to maneuver yourself away from that if you're able to be clear of mind and be in control of the components internally.
Mm.
And it all starts with this not getting overly emotional. I'm not getting mad. I'm not getting frustrated. I'm allowing these things are happening. And with a clear mind, I'm able to counter whatever is happening to me.
Yeah, I think you can like take that relational piece that you just talked about there, and then you can carry that on to every aspect of your life. If you can be a person that's under control,
Right.
then you control the arena that you're in,
Yes.
right? And I think that's like the secret sauce to being a good communicator, especially with a spouse.
Mm-hmm.
It's very often. I mean, my wife and I just this anger part. My wife and I just had I wouldn't say a blowout, but we had a big disagreement.
Sure.
Right. And that disagreement then carried on into me showing up here
Still frustrated.
stanky and frustrated, man. And guess what? We've been married for almost 24 years. And so it doesn't matter how long you've been with somebody, like you're going to have friction that you come up against.
What I would like to do, what I'd like you to do is maybe if you would for the audience, kind of, you got mad, maybe she got mad, but how did you go about handling your anger there afterwards? Because I received some anger from you, but once you had kind of vented it out, and I kind of, I was upset about something with you specifically, and then you were so hot, it diffused my slight frustration completely. I was like, what do I have to be mad about? Look at this guy, he's nuts. Which, right? But here's the great thing, and this is the growth in you, is that before we even left the environment we were in, you were already saying, you know what, man, I came in here with a hot temper about something else completely. I'm sorry I blew up at you. That was you analyzing where this anger came from. Your anger wasn't at me. Now, I was a good opportunity for you to direct it, and maybe a past version of Andy would have kept staying upset with me because I kind of came at you hot in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have been like, man, screw that guy. But instead, you analyzed what is the greater thing I'm frustrated with here? And it was some root thing that actually has days in advance roots. I wasn't even around you 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So you have roots in this anger back there that it wasn't being dealt with. It's that there was such a quick compounding of elements that it kept more and more infesting you as you're trying to deflect any of it.
Oh, man.
But to your credit, as a man who consistently tries to submit himself to the greater, to God's will and God's plan, you were able to kind of analyze and take a minute after you'd kind of blown at least the steam out the top and go, what's my part here?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I actually angry?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the growth, and that's what we're all shooting for. Nobody's perfect. This is a frustrating world. And you're going to get frustrated. If you didn't, I wouldn't be able to be friends with you because I blow up on a regular basis as it is. Yo, if you were never blown up, yeah, I'm the guy sticking 2 hands in a small little thing trying to screw those nuts counter to each other so that the thing's tight. That's my life. And if you were never if you never got into a state of frustration, we just couldn't be friends. Because I don't think you'd understand me at all. You'd just be like, this guy's too nuts.
Well, it'd feel fake.
I'd be like, this guy's too
fake
perfect.
too. Like your life is that good all the time that you don't ever feel anything. Yeah,
I've never met that person, by the way, and I've met some people that really have pretty solid standing, and even older gentlemen that I know will get festered up about something or other from time to time because this is a frustrating world, and the world's difficult.
Yeah,
you know, in this what I wrote down in this proverb, and you said the first part, self-control. But what I believe he's saying is self-control is superior to conquest.
that's it.
He's saying the ability to have control over your emotions and then the way you react to those emotions is far superior to anybody conquering anything. Because like a bigger army can conquer a smaller army. That doesn't mean the smaller army isn't honorable. It just might mean that they had a bigger army or more weapons. On the other side of that, the ability for you to restrain your emotions and then be able to analyze a situation, even if you're the smaller army, might set you up for victory in the future. You might have lost that battle, but you'll win the war because you're able to control yourself, and maybe your people see that as a dignified, honorable way. And the other side, maybe some of their people will start to see the way you handle yourself with dignity and honor. and that's attractive. We all know that's attractive,
Yeah.
and it'll bring people in.
You said it. It's this self-analyzation of things.
And you can only do that if you have control over your emotions.
It is, but it's also something that typically is only gained over time, over years of experience, because when you're younger, when in your mind, if you always think that you're right, and this is the other problem that comes with it, if you're always right and you can't self-reflect and you can't see yourself on the other side and hear their argument and try to see where they're coming from, then if you're always right, then you're never going to get anywhere, because then it's just always going to be you're just mad all the time that they don't see it your way, and then you can't acquiesce to anything that they're saying, and maybe you don't have all the answers correct all the time. And I think that's the challenging part about relationships, is that you have to be able to figure out, she has her point of view, I have my point of view. Who's right, who's wrong? I don't necessarily, there's always a who's right and who's wrong.
Rarely is there that.
Right. It's just like, we have to talk strategy, and how can we come together in our thought process on this that makes the most sense, where you feel validated, I feel validated, and we have the best solution on the other side of things.
Where does compromise lie?
Thank you.
That's what we're saying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Compromise is such a big piece of relationships. And when we talk about, I'm not talking about compromising your morals or compromising your integrity. We're talking about compromising that maybe you don't have the right answers for everything all the time. And being able to hear somebody else's ideas might be something that is beneficial to you. Maybe that'll help quell that anger in a quicker mode whenever you are going through a disagreement. I wrote this thing down on anger. Did you have anything else you want to move?